Hello, this is Paul Browning from Freedom Hygiene, and I'm pleased to share some information with you this week regarding tracking down and eliminating Listeria Monocytogenes. It's quite paradoxical that Listeria is an easy organism to kill. So it begs the question, doesn't it? Why does it continue to outwit us? Why do we still get outbreaks of listeriosis? The more we know about Listeria Monocytogenes, the more we're able to resolve any issues concerning it. You know, it's a bit like criminology, that if a detective wants to find a criminal, the more that he knows about that criminal, its personal habits, who he likes to knock around with, and the kind of hiding places that he's probably going to be found at, it gives the police far more chance of tracking down and putting that criminal into a safe place for the rest of society. And this is the kind of approach that we should be taking towards tracking down not just Listeria Monocytogenes, but any foodborne pathogen or food spoilage organism. Anyway, back to Listeria Monocytogenes. Why does it continue to outwit us? First of all, it can form biofilms at low temperatures, as low as 4 degrees centigrade, and we know that it can survive quite well at -5. Secondly, biofilms thrive in niche or hard to clean areas. More about that later. And the third important thing that we've come to understand over the last 2 videos is that our traditional armoury of conventional cleaning and cleaning chemicals and methodology simply doesn't work anymore. Now, what I want to introduce you to this week is something that I believe is very special. And this was work carried out from one of the universities in Madrid. Back in 2018, this was published in this Frontiers in Microbiology. It came from the Department of Food Science and Technology from one of the Madrid universities by a team headed by Carmen H. Puga al. And this is what they set out to do. Pseudomonas fluorescens, a dense biofilm producer frequently isolated from food contact surfaces, could be a good candidate for sheltering other microorganisms, such as Listeria Monocytogenes. The main objective of this work was to evaluate the ability of Listeria Monocytogenes to colonize pre-established Pseudomonas biofilms. Just want to read a couple more lines to you from the introduction. Listeria Monocytogenes' presence in food processing facilities is a concerning issue for several reasons. Once established in a food processing plant, it can persist there for extended periods, for months and even years, presumably hosted and preserved in biofilms. Now, that is the most significant finding. The report goes on to talk how they use confocal laser scanning microscopy, which is illustrated on the screen behind me. And I think what I'd like to do now is to demonstrate what the scientists in Madrid found. To their surprise, to my excitement, and I believe this one finding can help us track down and eliminate Listeria and other foodborne pathogens faster and more effectively than any other program that I know. Now, what I've done here is I've taken a Hartley's lemon jelly, and I made this myself yesterday in this drinking glass, and this represents a preformed biofilm produced by Pseudomonas fluorescens. Now, Pseudomonas fluorescens, like the Pseudomonas species, will produce lots and lots of biofilm. So that represents that. What they did next was to take Listeria Monocytogenes. Now, what I've used for this demonstration is some cranberries, and they seeded the preformed biofilm with Listeria Monocytogenes. So now we have the Pseudomonas fluorescens biofilm here, represented by the lemon colour, and the cranberries at the top, it's the Listeria Monocytogenes, which has been seeded on. And then that would be put away for 21 hours to incubate. And what happens next is absolutely mind-boggling. The Listeria was no longer on the surface of the preformed biofilm. And what had happened during that time, and all this has been captured on the photography that we see back on the screen on my desk, and what had happened is the Listeria had burrowed its way to the base of the biofilm. So now look what we've got here. It's a facultative anaerobe, so it's quite happily sitting there with lower levels of oxygen. It's got a competitive advantage by being down there, but look at the protection that is afforded here by the biofilm, because we know without any shadow of doubt that conventional chemical detergents cannot remove that biofilm without added kinetic energy, in other words, scrubbing or padding. And even that may not remove a mature biofilm. We know, for example, that peracetic acid cannot penetrate through a biofilm. It will be neutralized and by the catalase within that biofilm. So knowing this, knowing that the Listeria now has got the protection of collaborating with Pseudomonas, we can take steps to not only track it down, but to eliminate it. What I'd like to do in the next video, which follows on from this one, is to talk about the common hiding places where we can find Listeria. And then we want to go on to talk about how we can eliminate Listeria from our food production and packaging facilities. So that's Paul Browning from Freedom Hygiene. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction into finding or tracking down and eliminating Listeria Monocytogenes, and I look forward to taking a little bit further next time. Thank you.